Hi everyone! So for this week's video discussion, we're discussing the concept of yellow journalism and just some examples of modern day yellow journalism. So yellow journalism is when newspapers, magazines, etc. will share fake or poorly researched news. Sometimes this involves sharing news that is fake, and other times it can be news that associates two ideas together with a negative connotation. So throughout history, yellow journalism was unfortunately seen as truth a little bit in the beginning. In the 1890s, most people assumed that the publishers had credibility and truth behind what they published. This is also seen today with fake news shared throughout social media. With social media, people share fake news to get attention, followers, likes, etc. And it was similar to yellow journalism, where people were trying to get money and attention, and a lot of the times they were trying to share their opinion about the war, and trying to get that Spanish-American War publicity. So on page 243, the first paragraph says, a few years after the war, the journal scoffed at claims that it fomented the conflict as a cynical attempt to build circulation and boost profits. On its best day, the journal printed over a million copies. Brisbane later said that 200,000 more could have been sold, and that the war had an effect on money making in their paper. So essentially, yellow journalism was bringing in a lot of money. And then just at this time period, so was just most newspapers. Like, they were just a very profitable business. So some publications in the 1890s tried to explain the appeal of yellow journalism stories. And on page 238 in paragraph 8, let me see here. So it says that the Journalist Trade publication attempted in 1897 to grasp the appeal of yellow journalism and concluded that it is not the impertinent intrusions into privacy, the reckless printing of alleged news that is not news, that makes sensational journalism popular with the majority of its supporters. It is the freshest news brightly presented, the sham sharply punctured, and above all, the feeling, justified or not, that behind and through the paper beats a warm, generous human heart, alive to the troubles and miseries of humanity and anxious to alleviate them. So, to me, this says that the authors behind yellow journalism maybe at first just wanted to alleviate some of the pain that was going on with the war and just everything that was happening during this time period. And so the author describes that yellow journalists as people that just want to alleviate stress from the public, essentially. This implies that the news and outrageous claims... this implies that the yellow journalism was intended to be a joke amongst people during this time period. If the fake news and outrageous claims that were shared with the public by way of newspaper were meant to be funny, then publishers should have made that fact aware. We've learned a lot about hoaxes and just the fake news that gets circulated, animal hoax, the moon hoax, you name it. And so, with all these fake news stories going around, I just feel like yellow journalists should be honest about what their intent is, like if they really do wish to share the news or if they are just simply trying to be humorous. So there are a lot of websites and other forms of media that share fake news today, that are intended to make people laugh, similar to what it sounded like these people were trying to do, just relate to people. An example, The Onion. For those of you who may not be familiar with their work, they claim that they are America's finest news source, when in reality they just share satire news, like fake stories or stories that are just meant to be funny. Like, that they're fake because they're pretty funny. Or news that's humorous and an exaggeration of the truth. And just in case you guys were wondering, or you wanted to check out The Onion, I've attached a link to the bio, so you can go ahead and click on that and read some of their stories, kind of getting a feel for what I'm talking about. It's pretty funny. They have pretty funny stuff. Okay, so can examples of yellow journalism be seen today? Yes, definitely. And The Onion is just one of the ones that I thought of. Another one I thought of is all of the gossip magazines that you see floating around, you know, whenever you go to the grocery store and you go to check out, and there's just like the craziest headlines on these magazines. So modern day examples that I have are most gossip magazines like In Touch, Weekly, People, and even like TMZ as a gossip news like broadcast. And so I also wrote down a few headlines here that I found. And an example, Angelina Jolie's assistant told In Touch magazine that she was crazy and has an online shopping addiction. This is one of the headlines from their website. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle are expecting a child, and that's why they're getting married. It's like, it's not real news. It's not true. And I don't know if it's meant to be funny, but it's just not true. Another one about Meghan Markle is that Kate Middleton threw her bachelorette party and spent $60,000 on champagne and had 5 private jets. They danced on tables, and Kate planned it all. So that was another headline from one of the gossip magazines, which to me is just outrageous. Like, that's just not real news. And so although these are just some examples of entertainment yellow journalism, they were created with the same purpose as yellow journalism back in the 1980s, either to make money or to generate interest or connect with people. And you know, a lot of people connect over similar interests, and so if you are interested in entertainment, gossip magazines would definitely be a good example of that for you. And as well as the link for The Onion, I also put the link for some of the In Touch magazines that I found in the bio. So that is the concept of yellow journalism and a few examples from that. So thank you, and I look forward to reading everyone's post.